I've recently made some dramatic improvements or overhauls to the way that I learn, remember things, and apply my knowledge to fulfill my purpose in life. And it's come by looking at my brain like a company and taking on my arch nemesis in life. It started with a couple of huge screw-ups or realizations. The first was when I was calling the Canadian Revenue Authorities to understand a $742 fine that they had slapped me with. So to get in touch with the agents, I had to go through one of those super convoluted telephone menus and then wait online for untold minutes. And finally, I got an actual human being on the line. And they went through the security questions, including, "Sir, can you tell me your postal code?" V6R2PJ? Wrong. Since I couldn't remember such an obvious fact, the agent hung up on me. What was wrong with my brain? And it got worse, because another evening I was lying in bed reading Finding Your Element by Ken Robinson, and I was about 30% in when I had a nagging sense of deja vu, or deja lu. I feel like I'd read this before. So I went back through my Kindle library, and lo and behold, there it was, a second copy of that book. And I had read it cover to cover 9 months earlier. How could I have forgotten an entire book? This hurt extra hard because I had recently crystallized or focused in on the purpose of my learning and the purpose of these videos and pretty much all the work that I do, which is to become world-class and develop a world-class knowledge and reputation for helping myself and others tap into their life's extraordinary potential. And if I can't even remember an entire book related to this topic, such as Finding Your Element, well, that is decidedly un-world-class. The final push came from a podcast I was listening to from The Hidden Brain. It featured psychologist Dan Willingham, who's the author of a book called Outsmart Your Brain. And in terms of outsmarting your brain, he talked about how our brains trick us into underestimating our ability to forget everything and overestimating our mastery. Basically, our brains are wired for short-term survival, not long-term thrival. And as I listened to Willingham explain this more, I thought, oh my gosh, the suck. For those of you who are new here or who have memories like mine, the suck is my arch nemesis in life, the two-headed demon or two-headed force of complacency and delusion. Complacency gives you a warm bear hug and tells you you don't need to take action, and delusion distorts your perception of reality. In the case of learning, I realized, thanks to Dan Willingham's warning, that delusion is the head that sort of tells me, yeah, Chris, of course you know your postal code. You fill out forms all the time with it. Easy breezy, it's only 6 digits anyways. And complacency tells me, yeah, bruh, don't worry about it. You got this. Chill. But I do need to worry about it. And I can't chill because my learning and my knowledge management is kind of a catastrophe. Super inefficient, and definitely not good enough to achieve the goals that I want to fulfill. I started thinking about what I can do. And I had an idea. A metaphor. My brain is like a company. I'm the CEO, and working for me are all the ideas that I manage to bring in. Every idea works together and works with each other in teams and departments to help fulfill my brain's and my company's purpose, which, as I've said, is to help myself and others tap into their life's extraordinary potential. The problem with these ideas is that they are kind of like Gen Zs with fancy degrees. If you bring them in and let them twiddle their thumbs, they are going to get antsy and quiet quit on you. I won't even know that they're left. And making matters even worse is my nemesis, the suck. The suck is kind of like the world's worst HR manager. It whispers in my ear constantly, hey, Chris, everything's going great. All the ideas you brought in, they are super happy. They're doing their best. There's no way they're going anywhere. But at the same time, it's whispering to those ideas, you're no longer needed here. Why don't you go somewhere else? And so they're fleeing. I'm dealing with a catastrophically high level of turnover with my ideas, spending tons of energy bringing them in, only to see them go out the back door within a matter of days or weeks. So I needed to do something. And I want to share with you 3 steps that I've taken that I'm really excited about and have been having great impact so far. Step 1 was to completely revamp my onboarding process. Previously, or up until now, my onboarding process was essentially just to look for as many ideas as I could find, dump them into my brain, and hope they do something amazing. But it wasn't working. I needed to engage them better and keep them active and not let them run away. I got inspiration for how to do so from the Conversations with Tyler podcast featuring Michael Nielsen, because he introduced the idea of using spaced repetition. Spaced repetition is essentially the way using flashcards to remember things by reinforcing that idea on a regular basis. The more you know it, the less regularly you have to do it, but you keep it up eternally, essentially. And if you forget that idea, well, the flashcard reminds you and gets you back in that cycle and using it. So it's essentially a check-in with each idea that I have within my brain to ensure, hey, are you still active? You're still with me? I still need you. And if they've left, bring it back. I started using spaced repetition for all the ideas that I find that I know are worth preserving. For example, I saw a tweet where Patrick O'Shaughnessy, another podcast host, introduced his definition of a life's work. It's a 3-part framework. It is, a life's work is a lifelong quest to build something for others that expresses who you are. I really like this framework, and it fits in closely with what I'm working towards, which is to help people tap into their own unique, extraordinary potential. So I've brought it in, and now, as you can see, it's deeply embedded in my brain thanks to using spaced repetition. And I've done the same for about 80 concepts so far in the past month and a half or 2 months. And I'm already feeling that they're starting to work together and be more engaged and be more easily accessible to me as I think about things and try to apply it in my own life. Step 2 to my brain management overhaul was to improve my mergers and acquisitions process. Reading a book is kind of like acquiring a new company and trying to integrate all those ideas into your brain. And the author is the CEO of that company that you are acquiring. In the past, when I would read a book, I would, take a little bit of notes, but in terms of remembering stuff and adding it to my actual useful day-to-day knowledge, I would just dump it in there and say, well, here you go, guys. All these new ideas are now here. See if you can work together and figure something out. And what would happen? Well, generally, that book, kind of like Finding Your Element by Ken Robinson, all those ideas would show up, say, what the hell is this place? And they would flee. I need to be more intentional about it. And I came up with a system. Now, what I'll do is I will take the ebook, convert it into a text format, and upload it to Claude or ChatGPT. And then I will pretend that I'm talking with the author. I will first say, hey, give me your org chart, which is essentially the outline of the book. Then I will say, okay, hey, I'm Chris. You are the author. My goal with my brain is to become world-class at helping others and myself tap into our extraordinary potential. Tell me about the ideas that you have in your book that are relevant to this. And then we'll have a conversation. The author will introduce new ideas to me, and I will ask them questions about it. And if I don't understand, I'll try to put it into ways that I can understand those ideas better. And then I will try to integrate them with the ideas I currently have by asking questions and seeing if it makes sense to the author. It's a lot of fun, actually, to have a conversation like that, and a lot faster than reading a book. And in doing so, I get these ideas from the book working more closely with my pre-existing ideas, and then I put them into Anki cards, of course, so that I don't lose them in the future. There are some downsides. It's not the same as reading a book. I'm not reading the book cover to cover, so I'm sure I'm missing some ideas, but I'm being much more efficient that way. And it's saving me a lot of time to do step 3. Step 3 in my learning overhaul is improving my diversity and inclusion. For the past couple of years, I've been almost entirely reading nonfiction. And nonfiction ideas are kind of like the engineers, programmers, and accountants within a company or my brain. Nothing wrong with them, but if your company is only run by that type of staff, it's going to be a very dry, uncreative, and predictable company. And that's not what I want. So I needed to add some more fiction into my brain. Ideas from fiction are the creatives, the storytellers, the shamans. You can't really explain or rationalize what exactly they're doing with the company, but they add color and they glue and they work symbiotically with the nonfiction ideas to create something original and exciting. With the free time that I've opened up from not reading nonfiction anymore and instead having conversations with nonfiction books, I'm reading fiction books. I'm currently 10% into the 1,400-page long book, The Count of Monte Carlo, and I'm really enjoying it. It's a lot less dry than the nonfiction I usually read, and while I don't know what ideas are going to come with it, I do know that those ideas are going to stick with me and be useful, because if I think back on other fiction books that I've read, like, for example, A Short Stay in Hell that I read just over a year ago, or Ender's Game, or Atlas Shrugged, or I can go on and on. These concepts, these ideas that I bring in, they stick a lot longer than the nonfiction ideas that I try to recruit. And combining the two creates extraordinary results. So those are the 3 steps I'm following right now to overhaul my learning process, and it feels great already. I've gone from forgetting my postal code to for sure knowing it now because I have an Anki card for it, to remember it through spaced repetition. I'm working way more closely to embed ideas from books into my brain, and I'm adding more diversity. If you want to overhaul your own learning process, I would suggest starting with these steps. Maybe start by creating some flashcards to remember these ideas from this video.